I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars. Have you ever been influenced in your choice of vehicle by an advertising campaign?
Very good question. I don't think I have, actually.
No, I don't think I have liked advertising campaigns for cars which I have chosen. The Jaguar XF springs to mind, but I wouldn't say I have chosen a car because of an advertising campaign, but there have been some good ones.
There's a lot of good ones. Perhaps not recently.
No, I'm not aware of any recently.
They've lost the charm of all the 80s explosions and helicopters and banging tunes.
Lots of banging tunes, yes. You need a banging tune. It's all part of it. So I was thinking, have you got any campaigns that sort of stick out in your memory? For me, one which coincided with me buying a car from that particular brand was the Jaguar XF and their 2015 It's Good to Be Bad campaign.
I'd forgotten about that one.
Which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Big name actors, Ben Kingsley, Mark Strong, Tom Hiddleston, very Bond-like in its feel. They're all playing supposed villains. Have you ever noticed in Hollywood movies how the villains are always played by Brits and things like that, and we all drive Jaguars. Or as Jeremy Clarkson said when he was talking about it on Top Gear, and we all drive Jaguars now. I thought that was a fantastic campaign. I really liked that, and it was in full swing when I bought the XF. It's Good to Be Bad was written all over the front of the dealership. It wasn't the thing that made me choose that car, but it certainly didn't hurt.
No, it was very cool at the time, and it managed to be cool, a bit naughty, and quite aspirational as well.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and it was great for that new generation of Jaguars that they were producing at the time. And Ian Callum was in full swing by then, and they'd got a really good lineup at that time. Really strong range at that time, and of course it harked back to the 60s where the old Mark II Jag was the Crim's car.
Speedy getaway for all the lads.
Exactly, that's right. Get the boys out of trouble. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be wanting the Mark II, sir. Yes, that's right. But always the 3.4, never the 3.8, because apparently it was faster. And I really liked that. I think back through advertising campaigns over the years. The Jaguar Good to Be Bad was one of my absolute favourites. I thought it was brilliant.
I know I started off by saying we haven't had any good ones recently, but that is a good one, and it was quite recent. So.
Yeah, 2015. That's the most recent one that I recall, but it was really good. I rewatched a couple of them because they're all on YouTube, and the production value of it as well. It felt really big budget. It was really glossy.
It was,
They did a really good job of that.
Yeah, they splashed out on that one.
Yeah, I think they did. They spent all the money on the advertising campaign. Yes.
Oh, sorry, run out.
Can't actually make the cars. Yeah, that one sticks out in my memory particularly.
Well, that's a good choice. Have you got anything a bit more retro?
Oh, I have. I have another one which that really sticks out in my memory was from 1991. I had to look that up. I didn't.
Okay.
I had to look that up, and it was Ford's "Everything We Do Is Driven by You" campaign.
Oh yeah.
Which wasn't advertising a particular Ford. It was like the Good to Be Bad. It was advertising the brand in general, and using the Bryan Adams song, but slightly tweaked. I looked up the lyrics that they used earlier, and it you don't sort of notice it at the time because it does, when you watch it, it works quite well, but the actual lyrics are stretching it a
Is it
bit.
dreadful?
Well, get a load of this.
You going to sing it?
I'm not going to sing it because nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. That's bad times if I try and do that. In fact, yeah, no.
No,
No, not happening. We build for the country's needs. Wheels turn, power at your feet. High speeds, but you know you're in safe hands. In the dark, we make a brighter light. One spark to the horizon wide. You trust, and together we'll tame the land. You'd be forgiven if you think you're dreaming, but we're working night and day to make the dream come true. Everything we do is driven by you.
Oh, it's quite vomit-inducing, really, isn't it?
It's quite bad, isn't it? When you actually look at it, it's quite bad when you remember the kind of Fords that were being made in 1991.
No, oh god! Now you've mentioned it. Yeah, you string it all together because it's kind of subliminal at the time. You recognise the tune, but you probably don't pay attention to the lyrics.
Exactly, and actually, when you watch it, it's okay. You know, lots of sort of fiery images, fast-moving cars, lots of engineering stuff going on, and it's a familiar tune as well, which and you know it for the real lyrics. And you don't always pay attention to it. In fact, unless you really listen to it, you may not even be able to tell that the lyrics have been changed. And it has been done quite well. But yes, when you actually read what it says. And early 90s was not Ford's greatest time. They were producing some dreary tat at the time. So, Ford Escort Mark V, we all know.
So, nothing to get excited about.
Nothing to see there, no. But again, it's a campaign that sticks out in my memory, and I quite liked it because it was so cheesy.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. Off the back of that one, I did have a Ford one in my list, actually.
Very good.
Slightly earlier, I think 85, 86.
Right.
This is stretching my memory a bit. It was for the Sierra.
Ooh.
Starring Richard Bryars.
Really?
Yeah.
I am unaware of this.
No, I do vaguely remember it, and the scenario is he's got his new Sierra, and he's delighted. So much so he's taking his daughter and her friend to their scouts or whatever the girls' equivalent is. I can't remember. Guides, is it? That's the one.
Guides or brownies, depending on age. Yeah.
To their camping trip, and he turns up, and it turns out that his wife has volunteered him to help put up the tents, and he was unaware of this.
Okay.
And the advert finishes with the strapline that the Sierra, it's one of the family. Quite cringeworthy.
There's talking about Ford advertising particularly. There's some videos on the Men and Motors YouTube channels which are uploads.
God, I'd forgotten about that channel.
Yeah, you got to get back into it. I tell you, it's glorious. There's some stuff on there which were uploads of Ford promotional videos, presumably for training dealers and things, but they're quite long. They're like sort of an hour and a half. And there's one for the launch of the Sierra, and it's narrated by Joss Ackland. And
all right,
it's seriously, find it. It's an hour and a half well spent, and there's several on there. There's one for Cortina, there's one for Fiesta, I think, but the Sierra one with him is absolutely glorious. And he unveils each model in the range and spends about 20 minutes on it. And some of the language that's used in the script is, and here we have the incomparable gear. I was like, what? And he lists all the things that it's got, like rear head restraints, fog lights in the body-coloured bumpers, things like that, quadraphonic sound.
Oh my god!
All the things you got on the and the entry level one, whatever it was, the L. He's really struggling because it's got nothing on it.
Nothing to work with on that one.
Nothing at all. No. There is no equipment in it. It hasn't even got 2 rear view mirrors. You only got 1.
You can't start listing steering wheel, gear knob. It's a bit of a stretch.
No, you can't. The fact that it had a radio in it, I think it was listed. Oh, and 2 reversing lights.
Clutching at straws.
Yeah, but it's there. Honestly, go and find it. It's glorious. It's worth a watch.
An hour and a half of that.
It may not be an hour and a half, but it is quite long. It's at least an hour.
Okay.
Because it was looking at every model in the range, every version in the range, and it's obviously some of the film work is quite good. It was obviously shot in some sunny place, probably Spain. Ford did a lot of their stuff there, of the cars driving around. But yeah, Joss Ackland's voiceover is glorious. It really is. Very good.
Oh my goodness,
worth a watch.
An excellent choice. Yeah, I'll go and find that. That sounds brilliant.
Not advertising as such, because I think it was only meant for dealers. But nevertheless,
still relevant.
Yeah, worth a look. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Another one that I thought of, which was sort of early to mid 90s, around the time of the release of the Mark III Cavalier, which was the feature of the advert in question.
Okay.
And it was a big focus on safety and airbags and crash protection.
Okay, yeah.
And basically, it was a Cavalier in all its crash test state, all painted yellow, and constantly being smacked around, while in the background you've got Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer playing.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Crash tests are used a lot, aren't they? Very popular.
I remember that one sticking out because you used to, every time you go, oh, it's a Cavalier advert, you didn't even have to be in the room.
But you just knew it was.
But interestingly, right at the end of the advert, the music would change to Eric Clapton and Layla, because all of the Vauxhall stuff had a bit of Layla in it at some point.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there's a really less than subtle segue from Peter Gabriel to Eric Clapton.
That's not. Yeah, you're not going to be able to mix those together, are you? No, there is no way to morph one into the other. No,
they opted for stopping one and starting another.
Just do it. Yes. Oh, very good. Safety is a big theme, isn't it, in car advertising? It gets used a lot. There's one I recall, which was for the initial launch of the Jaguar X-Type, and because it was the only car in its class available with 4-wheel drive, because the BMs and Mercs and Audis at that time didn't have it. So Jaguar were making a big thing of the fact that they'd made the X-Type 4-wheel drive, and the advert starts, only a short advert. The advert starts with 2 guys in a snowplow, and it looks like there's an older guy and a younger guy, and the older guy is training the younger guy to drive the snowplow, and he leans over to him and says, "Now just stick in its tracks, you will be fine, just stick in its tracks." And then the camera pans out, and in front of the snowplow is an X-Type.
I remember that.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
there was a voiceover saying that, Jaguar X-Type, the only car in its class with four-wheel drive. They made a big thing of that.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I remember that. And off the back of that, didn't Clarkson ski behind one?
He did in 2004 when they launched the X-Type Estate. Yes, he took one out in the snow,
Mm.
and skied behind it. Yeah, yeah. He really liked that car.
Well, you should let him drive yours, as that would have changed his mind.
I really liked it
Well,
till,
unless it was a warm day.
till it broke.
I love that story of your, oh, can you regas the air conditioning, please?
Tip of the iceberg. Actually, that was the one thing that didn't need doing.
Really? Well, you couldn't regas it. Didn't you say it had fallen out?
A large piece of it had, yeah, yeah. The entire, yeah. What started as can you regas the air conditioning ended up as basically an entire new cooling system for the engine, plus a whole new air conditioning system. Yeah, but 2.5 grand's worth of work.
Hmm. But still, that's a lovely place to sit,
It
even if you're
was.
warm.
Yeah, it was on a lovely sunny day. Yeah, it was great. Nice soft leather and wood dash, and yeah,
Jag can do an interior, just perhaps not air conditioning.
they can do well. As the guys who were working on it told me, every part that had broken was from Ford. All the Jaguar
Ah,
bits were fine.
that's interesting.
Yeah, the entire air conditioning system and most of the engine cooling system was straight from Ford. And they showed me the pile of rusty parts, and they said every one of these is from Ford. All the Jaguar bits are fine.
Oh dear.
So,
Maybe leave the parts bin alone at that point.
well, there you go. But they weren't allowed to, were they, at that time? It was all platform
Oh,
sharing and,
cost cutting and all that caper.
cut cutting, based the X Type on the Mondeo. Although I do recall at the time a discussion with a Jaguar engineer in a support forum that I was a member of at the time for obvious reasons. Was asking lots of questions, and he claimed that actually the X Type was in development before that generation of Mondeo. So actually, internally, it was the other way round. The Mondeo of that generation was actually based on the X Type. I have no idea if that's true, but that's what he claimed, that
Well,
it was the other way around.
it's an interesting claim. The amount of times someone mentions an X type and go, "Oh, that's just a Mondeo in a frock."
That's become that's become a very popular thing to say because it's what they said on Top Gear.
That happens.
Yeah.
911 or a squash beetle.
Well, exactly. Quite all that kind of stuff. So, and to be fair, if you're a smaller manufacturer like Jaguar and you suddenly have access to the resources of a massive global manufacturer like Ford, if you are going to develop a mid-size car, the Mondeo actually is not a bad place to start.
Not at all, actually. No.
No.
Good vehicle.
The Mondeo of that era was banging,
Mm.
and there's still loads of them around.
Mm.
But this particular individual claimed that actually the X Type was in development before that generation of Mondeo, so a lot of its design was done first. But there was certainly a lot of bits sharing. But certainly on the one that I had, I was told, and it wasn't at a Jaguar dealer being fixed; it was an independent. And they said all the bits that had fallen to bits were Ford bits, not the Jaguar bits. So
Worth noting.
We'll
Good
see.
consumer advice there.
Not that I'm likely to have another one.
No, probably not. But
Probably not.
Don't
But
let that put people off.
I do still like them, and the one I had is still going, still on the road.
Oh, that's nice to know.
I've done an MOT check on it, and it's still taxed and MOT'd. Yeah, it's still out there. Someone's kept it going.
Someone's got big pockets.
There we go. Yeah. Well, no, because I spent all the money on getting the big bits fixed, didn't I?
Oh, come on. The other big bits will have failed by now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got rid of it when it started eating alloy wheels.
What?
All four of them, and it was on the original wheels. although they were the big ones because I had the Sport, so it was on the big 20-inch rims.
But that was cheap on tires.
They all cracked, all four of them.
Shit.
And then I bought a whole new set of 20-inch alloys for it, and then two of them cracked again, brand new alloy wheels cracked again, and it was at that point that I got rid of it.
Too big, you see.
Yeah,
what
there
a sensible size wheel.
Should have gone for the little ones. Yeah, I was trying to keep it original. You see,
it's difficult, isn't it? I mean,
great believer in originality.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Even if it does cripple your spine.
Yeah. Well, fine. But it did happen just after we'd moved and lived at the end of a very bumpy little lane, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But I still liked it.
No, I get that entirely. It's still a nice car.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. I liked it very much. I still like the design of it. It's a very classic Jaguar shape. But to be fair, a lot of manufacturers at that time were not doing their best work. Mid-90s to mid-noughties, there was a lot of crap about, which is a shame. But
yeah, they're absolutely lovely things. I only drove one incredibly briefly.
Okay.
When I borrowed one, it was really low spec as well.
Oh, they did do one. They did what they called the Classic, which basically had no kit on it.
Yeah, it could.
I don't think it had leather seats.
Oh no, it had leather. This one I had.
Oh, okay.
It was where I used to work. A salesman had decided that he wanted a Jag as his company car, and went.
That's funny. The first one I drove was a salesman's company car, actually, years ago.
Yes, but he got all excited because the boss said, "Well, pick what you want, really, within reason."
Yeah.
So he went and
discovered he could have a Jag.
So he went and picked the Jag, and got so excited, and off he went in it. And then he got his wage slip that month. And Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs relieved him of an awful lot of money for the privilege of having a Jag. In company car tax, and he got all upset, and he said to our managing director, he said, "I just can't afford it." I said, "Can you take it back?" He went, "Can we take it back?" So it was on a lease deal, so no.
No, you can't. No.
It sat in the car park as a pool car.
Oh dear.
I used it once to go and get a bit of lunch.
That's quite a pool car. Blimey. Mind you, couldn't he have just called it a pool car? I mean, that goes on all the time.
Well, it does go on all the time, but it can get questionable, I suppose, can't it?
It can. Yes, I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. No, of course not. I am not a financial advisor.
No, the trouble is where the head office was versus where this salesman lived. Any particular audit from said tax authorities might spot that it was never there.
Yeah, well, it is tricky. Yeah.
Yes, tricky. He didn't operate out of that office, so
okay.
That was that buggered.
The first X-Type I drove was in Scotland when I was up there on business, and it belonged to the finance director of the company I was working for, and he'd done not finance director, sales director. And he'd done just that. He was allowed to get any car within a particular price range, and he realized he could have a Jag. And he got an X-Type, although I think it was only an SE, which was the next one up from the Classic. So it wasn't massively spec'd. But that was the first one I drove. And I thought, I think that was the first Jag that I ever drove. I quite liked it. On the motorway, it cruised very nicely, and around the sort of B roads, it handled quite well. Yeah, but it was years and years later than that I actually bought one, and of course I had the Estate, which was lovely.
Well, that's it. It's the thinking man's choice.
Oh, well, I thought so. I remember the salesman or the independent dealer that I bought it from very much didn't want me to have it. He had one in stock, not the one that I eventually bought, but he had one in stock. and said, "Why don't you take this for a couple of days and just see how you get on? And I've got some lovely Audis over here that we can talk about when you come back."
Oh, just piss off.
Yes. And I came back and said, "Nope, I'm not interested in your Audis. I want that."
Why? Why didn't he want to sell a car that he had for sale?
This particular one was his courtesy car. It was an X-Type estate, but it was older than the one that I eventually bought and lower spec. And it had been damaged, and it needed, so one of the rear doors had been stoved in, and it was not in great shape. And I think he was going to, if I'd said I want that one, he was going to have to do quite a lot of work on it. And he was he is a big Jag fan, and he's got an XJR himself. But he has lots of VWs and Audis always in stock. And he wanted me to have an Audi, but I wasn't interested. I wanted a Jag. I had already decided I wanted a Jag. And I said, but I don't want that one because that's a bit rough. And actually, I can spend a bit more than that. So could you go off and find me a nice one? And he did find me a nice one. It was a sport. So it had lots of kit on it, dark metallic blue with a cream leather interior, big alloys. It had the mesh grille on it because it was a sport. It was in lovely condition, not high mileage, been owned by a company director in London. Lots of little car park dings on it. It had obviously spent its time in London. Lots of little dings. But turned out, and this should have perhaps stopped me, but it turned out it had been a finance repossession, and it had no paperwork. It had no service history. Didn't even have the service book in it.
Oh dear!
It had nothing. We had no history for it at all. So yeah,
but that didn't stop you.
It didn't, because it was a really good price. And the problem when you go, and again, lesson learned, the problem when you go to someone like that who will find a car for you to your specifications, once he's gone off and bought it, although technically you could say, no, I don't want that one, find me another, you're kind of quite committed.
Yeah, you're fairly down the rabbit hole at that
by
point.
that point, because he's already bought it. And it's sitting there. And if you say, no, I don't want that one, find me another one, he's going to get very knocked off very quickly, isn't he?
Yes, he's not going to be very accommodating.
No. But as the car, he achieved the spec that I was after. Absolutely. And it was in lovely condition, at least cosmetically. But yeah, just absolutely no history with it at all. Yeah, there you go. I went ahead anyway. And
live a little. You got the car you wanted.
Yeah, I did.
Even if it did have the odd issue, doesn't matter, does it?
It's all got sorted, didn't it?
Well,
it's just cars. I mean, you could buy one with folders full of boxes full of history, and it'll still be an enormous pain. So it doesn't. Does it really make any difference when you're buying a used car?
No, particularly when you're at a certain price point as well.
Yeah, once you're past a certain age and you're at a certain price point, does it really matter? Anything, once it gets past a certain age, can fall apart, even if it's been meticulously maintained. It can still be a bag of bolts, can't it? So
yes,
we've all had cars like that. So,
yes.
So there it is. But I liked it, and then I went off and bought another Jag. So
well, that's it. Then the ball kept rolling. So
ball kept rolling, and
very good.
Maybe another one. You never know.
Well, never say never.
Never say never.
No, definitely not.
But we have strayed somewhat.
We have. I still have at least 2, I think, on my list.
Oh, I've still got 3 or 4.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, we were talking about snowplows and how they used it in the X-Type. There is, of course, the very famous Volkswagen Beetle advert. What does the man who drives the snowplow use to get to the snowplow?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yes.
Which bizarrely was a VW Beetle, which I struggle with. Is that a particularly good vehicle in deep snow? I don't know.
I
It is in the advert, but
yeah, I suppose there's not much meat to it, is there really?
no, there's
And the
if you, I mean,
weight's
it's quite
over
an
the
old.
driving wheels, so
It's true. If you find it, it's quite an old advert, but you can find it on YouTube, and it does look a bit, clatter, 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 clatter over this deeply snowed field. It does
I'm
look a bit strange.
I'm sensing your love for the air cooled there.
Are you? Why?
I don't know.
I don't get the Beetle, I'm afraid.
uh,
I just don't. I get it's a historic vehicle, and it's iconic, and it's not an unattractive vehicle, but I do struggle to find any love for it.
no, I find it interesting. I'm more than happy to
Yes.
poke around it and
The history
enjoy
is,
them. But,
how it came to be is very interesting, very historic. And I don't subscribe to the whole, Hitlermobile thing. I mean, yes, he happened to be, an influential figure at the time that it came to be, but yeah, I just struggle to find any interest in it particularly.
I don't want one. A friend of
No.
mine has one actually, and like you
Mm,
say, yeah, you don't subscribe to the Hitler thing. I do
no.
wind him up about that every time.
Oh, it makes for great jokes to anyone who's
Mm.
really into them. Oh, and I'd be head of the queue to start making those jokes. Absolutely. But that's fair game.
Yeah,
That's
you,
fair
you bring
game.
that on yourself when you buy one.
The automotive representation of Nazism. Clearly. I'll be the first to do that. But it's not fair on the car. And yeah, I just don't. It's just one of those few cars that I just don't really find any love for at all.
No, no, interesting, but really don't want one.
No. But whilst we're on Volkswagen, there are a
Mm-hmm.
couple of Golf ads that kind of have gone down in history.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. There's the 1987 one of the well-heeled lady
Oh yes.
throwing all her stuff away in anger at obviously the breakup of some relationship, and then she's about to throw the keys of the Golf down the drain and then stops herself.
Mm.
If only everything in life was as reliable as a Volkswagen.
Well, we all remember it. It's clever.
Yeah, and then there was the other one that Top Gear did a thing on a few years ago, wasn't
Oh
there?
God, yes.
With the guy who was clearly very down on his luck, and that was the same thing, wasn't it? I think if only everything in life was as reliable as Volkswagen.
Mm.
I can't remember all the things they list in that advert now, but there's all kinds of things, isn't there?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember that. It's a fantastic campaign, that one, because
Yeah,
it still gets talked about. It's still
it does.
yeah.
It was very clever, was it something like this is the man who got into diamonds when all the smart money got out, or something like that? There's all kinds of things, wasn't there, that they
That's it.
list
Yeah.
of things that he had cocked up,
Mm.
but not his choice of car. That he
Mm.
got just right.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Was that Mark II or Mark III Golf?
I want to say 2.
The first one I mentioned with the posh lady, that was a Mark II. So I want to say this one maybe was Mark III.
Yeah, I'm
not
yeah.
certain.
Mind you think back to the Mark III, you go, it wasn't actually that good.
I was going to say I'm struggling to even remember the Mark III.
The one that you will have forgotten entirely was the 4.
Right.
Woeful.
Utterly forgettable.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there. Absolute crap.
Really, that bad?
Well, and that became the platform for so many cars, though.
Yeah, I've just looked it up. Yes, that is a dreary box, isn't it?
You think
Yes.
Mark IV became the platform for the revamped Retro Beetle? It
Yes,
was the
that's
platform
true.
for the Audi TT.
It was the Volkswagen platform of the moment, wasn't
that was it.
Yeah.
Seat Leon.
Of course, yes. So many cars were based. Everything was a Golf. Yes.
Skoda Octavia as well.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Interesting you mentioned Skoda. They're on my list as well. And I'm thinking specifically of the advert where they build one out of a cake.
Oh, that was it. And no poor sod could eat it, but because it had been under studio lights and went manky virtually instantly.
It was horrible.
Mm.
Yes. It went weird, didn't it?
Mm.
Yes. But very nice to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nicely done.
The construction of a car out of confectionery. Yeah.
Yeah, all for
But
a
as
bit
you
of
say,
that.
a colossal waste of food.
Yeah, that's what you think. Oh, I bet they had a nice time afterwards. Nope, rancid.
Horrible.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's not going to last, is it, in that environment?
Nope. No, just overbaked dairy products.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Mm.
But very, very clever.
I'll tell you one that I've got on my list. I'm going back a bit now as well. I'm back to the 80s for this one.
Oh, we love a bit of 80s action. I've got one from the 80s as well.
Bit of Austin Rover for you.
Ah, yes. Okay. Above all, it's a Rover. Except it's not a Honda.
No, this one is not a Rover.
Okay.
This was the advert for the Metro. Going down the Austin side of things here. Okay. And it was set in a car dealership. The dealer was played by Eric Idle.
Oh, I think I remember this.
The customer was Nigel Mansell.
Yes.
And as Nigel Mansell backs out of the showroom under the instruction of Eric Idle, he drives into Murray Walker.
Of course, because that's always happening.
Yeah, that will happen.
Yeah. Oh, glorious. Was he driving a Metro as well?
I believe he was. It was either a Metro or a Maestro.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I can't remember. It just, that was so funny. It's just,
that's wonderful.
You think back to those cheesy ones.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. It was, it's bad.
They were really, the Austin Rover group at that time were really struggling with the advertising. As I said, the above all, it's a Rover campaign when it blatantly wasn't, and they were desperately trying to hang on to the old Rover brand values, even though it was so clearly a Honda.
Yeah, it's not going to work that. Well, it didn't, obviously. No.
It didn't, did it? No, that's the problem. It didn't. Have you ever seen... There's the advertising campaign, or one of the early advertising campaigns for the SD1 when it was first launched. And
I don't know. No, it doesn't ring a bell.
There's these two old guys looking round it. I remember there's a timeless phrase that they use. They're wandering around it talking about all the various modern and futuristic features that this vehicle has and how clever it is. Cutting edge stuff, including locking fuel cap. Oh, yes, of course, that's important these days, isn't it?
Oh, good God.
It's there. You find it.
God, right, I'll go hunting for that.
It's the original SD. It was a Series 1 SD1.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah.
Quite an early one, 70s advert. Again, as we were saying earlier, with the Sierra L struggling for features on the base model.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We'll take a fuel cap at that point if it locks.
We'll take a look at locking, sir. You don't forget that. Yes, because that's important these days.
Dreadful. Yes.
So pre-central locking, you see. Everything had to have its own lock.
Oh God, yes, it did. I tell you what, though, I came back to feeling that pain not so long ago on the central locking thing, where I stopped in the Volvo to fill up, and the central locking had not unlocked the petrol cap.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yes, and obviously I'd stopped because I was in quite a need of fuel, but couldn't open the pissing thing.
Oh dear. That's embarrassing, that.
Yes, cue an angry man swearing in the boot, removing quite a lot of innards to get to the bit that had got stuck.
Oh no. Oh dear. Is there like a manual release on the inside or anything, or can you...
I wouldn't go as far as to say there is a designated manual release, but if you take out two of the panels, you can get your hand far enough in to manually release it.
Okay.
I've just left it slightly unclipped should it happen again.
Yes. Oh dear. Well, I hope that's just a one-off and not a problem.
there's a bit of a spindle in there, and it wasn't very well greased. So that was the
You've
issue.
got to grease your spindle.
You do. It's a life fact, that one.
It is. Absolutely. You must never leave the house without a greased spindle. I'm disappointed that you allowed that to happen.
No, but I'm disappointed in myself.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. Yeah. Now, talking of cheese.
Go on then, because I've got one cheese related.
May I mention Saab?
Oh no, I've got literal cheese. You've gone for figurative cheese.
I'm still on advertising. I don't know where you went there.
No, I'll talk you through that in just a moment.
Okay. Saab and the jet fighter for the road.
Where?
What about that? He's a jet fighter.
Honestly, I got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No. They were, and I believe by that stage, the company making the cars had absolutely nothing to do with the company that made the planes.
No, I think you're correct there.
But they
no
were
association.
No, but they were still using it, and they did for years.
Which is strange. I mean, their cars weren't bad at the time.
The cars were brilliant. Absolutely. There was the old thing, wasn't there, that nobody could understand why they cost so much until they crashed one. And then they realized, because you just leave a big Saab-shaped dent in whatever it was you hit.
That's it. You can trust the Swedes. It's fine.
Very good cars, but the advertising campaign was focusing on all the wrong things.
Yeah, you could have gone down the Volvo route. They were very big on the safety stuff, weren't they?
They were, but they weren't doing the whole fighter planes flying around the place in their adverts, and
they weren't.
Fighter planes morphing into cars and things like that.
No, that was pure 80s cheese at that point. Like you say,
was. Yeah, absolutely was. Where they were trying to suggest that if you bought a Saab, you're actually buying a jet fighter.
Yeah,
a jet fighter with number plates.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Oh, good heavens!
But this is not about whether they were good cars or not, because they absolutely were, and it was a terrible, terrible shame what happened to Saab. But
I'm afraid it wasn't sustainable at that point in its life.
It would appear not. No, it would appear not. It was their absolute refusal to settle for anything, wasn't it? Because they were part of General Motors, and General Motors would deliver these platforms to them and say, right, this is going to be your new car. Tweak the design of that a little bit, just in the styling, and maybe put your own seats in it. And they just would completely redesign it from the ground up and end up with something that cost 5 times more than it was supposed to. They weren't making any money.
No, that's the thing, isn't it?
They were producing fantastically engineered cars, but selling them at a loss.
Which, when you're mass market, you can't do that.
You can't do that. No. As you say, it's just not sustainable, and that's in the end why they got dumped. There was just fantastic cars that just were not profitable.
Such a shame, like you say.
It was such a shame. They did get bought, didn't they?
Spiker bought them.
Yeah, and have done absolutely nothing with it.
No, I think they canned it. I don't think the Spiker deal lasted very long, as I recall.
Right. Okay. Did they buy it and then almost immediately close it, or did it get sold off again?
I don't know if it got sold off again. It would be someone must own a name somewhere.
Yeah, I might look that up. Actually,
yeah,
it's worth knowing.
It would be worth knowing
because they definitely bought them. I mean, Spiker are not exactly a massive manufacturer themselves, are they?
I mean, does Spiker even exist anymore?
I've heard that they do, but they don't have a current model.
Well, they also lent their name to Formula One, didn't they, as well? And that really didn't work for them.
Yeah. No, it didn't at all.
No, you need bigger pockets for that.
You do, really. Yeah, you do.
Any joy?
It looks like it may still be under General Motors.
Really?
Yeah. It looks like they may have taken the name back, but have not done anything with it. it's a bit unclear. And of course, there's Scania, which is still going.
Yes. Yep. Well, that still has its uses.
Yes. Let's see if Wikipedia's got to say anything on the subject.
Yes. Let's see if we've changed hands again.
No, there's just a footnote in 2014 that Spiker Cars did purchase it, but that both companies went bankrupt. Spiker was then refinanced and restarted, but Saab wasn't. Yeah, it was, the name was purchased by the National Electric Vehicle Sweden company.
It's interesting.
Yeah, indeed, with plans to produce an electric Saab 9-3.
Less interesting.
But to date, nothing has ever happened.
Well,
it's not entirely clear. It looks like General Motors may have taken it back, but then it's been sold on again to an electric vehicle maker, but nothing's ever happened with it.
I tell you what, that would be a good name to sit on until we sort out this EV tech a bit more.
Wouldn't it?
And then
if you could relaunch that as a pure EV brand, but again with the traditional focus on safety and build quality and things. That could be cracking.
Yeah. I see quite a few takers for that.
Somebody could really, if you pitch that right, somebody could make a big success of that. That could work really nicely. The Saab brand relaunched as pure electric, that could work really well.
Yeah, I'd have a bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But whether that will happen or not, I don't know. It looks like it was owned by a company intending to make electric vehicles. So
very good, very good.
Keep an eye on that.
Watch this space.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. You heard it here first.
You did, yeah. We're all over that. We're trendsetters, you see.
Oh, trending all over the place. I am.
Oh, yeah. Right. Here we go. I'm going to segue back to cheese.
Please do.
Right. This wasn't strictly a car advert, but it did contain car-related actors.
Okay.
And I say actors in a loose sense.
Right.
Do you remember in 96, I believe, there was a Pizza Hut advert starring Damon Hill and Murray Walker? So there's your literal cheese reference.
Oh, I see. Oh, very good. Because obviously pizzas have cheese on them, don't they?
There you go.
Clever. Yeah, clever. I don't remember that at all.
It's really bad because Murray commentates the entire dining experience.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, did you have to humiliate the poor old boy like that?
I'd imagine his bank balance looked pretty good after that. I bet he never had to buy a Pizza Hut ever again in his life. He could just walk in.
Pizzas for life there. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. I don't remember that at all. No. What was it, advertising a car or was it advertising Pizza Hut?
Advertising Pizza Hut.
I see. Okay, they just chose two automotive figures to do so.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was 96, and it was the year that Damon won the championship. So I would assume it was relating to that, or he was at least well on his way to it at the point the advert came out.
Bit of a tie-in. Yes, very good. No, I don't remember that at all. That sounds quite painful.
It's quite amusing. I'll give him that. Murray gave it his all.
Yeah, well, always did. Always did. He's a gent. You know,
he is.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah.
Poor old chap.
Poor old fella. Yeah, that was sad.
He entertained us in many ways.
Oh, he did on many fronts. Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's absolutely.
It. Yeah. If you look up DeLorean Time Machine Hire in South Devon on Facebook, you will find a number of pictures of him sitting in a time machine replica.
Okay.
For some sort of promotional event that, they do a lot of corporate events. They did one with him, and there's some pictures on their Facebook page of him sitting in a DeLorean time machine, looking quite bewildered, I have to say.
Well, he'll take anything involving a vehicle, wouldn't he?
It would seem so. Yes, absolutely. On the subject of the DeLorean, I would just like to mention the advertising campaign that had.
Go on then.
I don't know if you've ever seen the original 1980s or 1981 US TV ad for the DeLorean.
I've not.
Look it up. It's brilliant. It makes quite a few claims. And it's very slick and lots of shots of the stainless steel gleaming in the sun. And allow me to read. This wasn't sung, so there's no risk of singing here.
Okay,
allow
good,
me
good
to
stuff.
read you a little bit of the dialogue.
Yes, please.
Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside. The sleek stainless steel DeLorean, beautifully crafted for long life. The DeLorean is one of the most awaited automobiles in automotive history. To drive the DeLorean is to live the dream.
Wow.
Look it up. It's a piece of history.
Bloody hell.
There's a lot going on in there, isn't there?
Well, it was the 80s.
It really was. And is there a more 80s car, other than perhaps the Lamborghini Countach, although technically that was 70s, than the DeLorean?
So it is a tricky one. No, I think it wins.
You know, the big wheel arch, big spoiler 911 is there. You'll know the proper number for that. Because I don't know any of the Porsche numbers.
No, that'll be the 930 Turbo. There you go.
Okay. And maybe the big grille Mercedes SL.
Yeah.
That's quite 80s, especially a convertible.
But I still think the DeLorean wins.
Yeah, it probably does.
And yet, you could argue that it does look a bit timeless as well.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah,
I think it does. I still think it looks quite futuristic, even today. But yeah, have a look for that advert. They were really trying with that.
Yeah, that's bold.
It was very. Yeah, it said a lot and perhaps didn't quite deliver. Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.